Our topic today is designing for time and energy, and more specifically, designing your week for time and energy. So, for example, most people design their week in relation to time. When they're looking at their calendar, they're like, okay, what do I need to how many things can I fit into my calendar and how fast can I get through all this stuff? While that is a baseline thing, if you have a planning system, if you're doing something in terms of planning and structure, that's actually a very positive thing. So I won't put that down. But the next level of strategy around that is your energy. And what I was sharing before is that I actually delivered a session on vision for our coaching community, for my coaching mastermind. And I know quite a few coaches who understand all this process and they have their vision and everything. But vision doesn't mean anything unless it goes into a structure, unless you can make it a reality, unless you can get focused on a day-to-day, on a week-to-week basis. You can still be inspired by the vision, you can still feel amazing and hopeful and everything, but if you're going through your week getting frustrated, getting distracted, not doing the things that need to move you forward, your energy is low, then that's not doing anything for you. And that's why I wanted to kind of create a discussion around this is how are you designing your life? And I want you to think about a few key areas on how are you looking at your calendar? First of all, when you're looking at your calendar for the week, if you don't have a calendar, you need to get a calendar. I don't care if it's manual or electronic, then I prefer electronic. It's live, you can make adjustments, it's dynamic, you can do a lot of things in a calendar system that's online. But if you prefer manual, you can do it manual. The point is to have some kind of structure. Now, I want you to think about how are you structuring your days and weeks, especially as you're coming into the new year, especially as you have your vision, as you have your goals. How are you structuring your week? And we'll start with the day and then we'll go into the week in a bit. And I want to talk about a couple of things. One, understanding that time is actually fixed for everybody. I mean, it sounds common sense, but we all have 24 hours in a day. And I want you to really think about it. So how is it that some people get 10 times more than others get done? And some people struggle through their week and day. And one of the biggest factors around that is actually your energy. And that's why energy is something we can manipulate, we can change, we can move through, we can transform. And energy is variable, it's not fixed. Yes, we need to be efficient with our time and structure our day in a way where we're focused at certain times, but what's happening with your energy? And I want to get you to think about these areas. So when you're looking at your day, when you're looking at what's happening, how's your physical energy? And how's your mental energy? How's your emotional energy? How's your spiritual energy? And I don't just want you to think of it conceptually. I want you to literally look at your calendar right now. When you're looking at your calendar, throughout the day, what do you notice? Do you notice that your physical energy tanks as you go throughout the day? What are those moments? What are those points? So usually for most people, it's afternoon is where they hit a slump. And I want you to think about what's happening. What is causing that? Is it a lack of sleep the night before? Is it a type of nutrition? For example, if you eat more carb heavy stuff, or heavy foods in general, like a heavy lunch, mostly if it's carb and sugar oriented, you will get that afternoon slump. You will feel like you want to pass out or you want to sleep. So understanding how your physical energy works is very important. And the reason why I'm saying is that I don't just plan for time, I plan for energy. So for example, in the morning, I don't eat a lot in the morning. If I eat, I'm eating something that is not heavy. So I don't get that sort of food coma or that slump in the afternoon time. Or for example, I'll plan out my workout somewhere in the afternoon where I get more active because I've worked a lot from morning all the way to that point and I need a break. And also I want you to look at your calendar, for example, in the mornings, what's happening with your emotions? What kind of emotions do you start your day with? Is it hope? Is it excitement? Is it connection? Is it purpose? What is happening when you wake up? And I can tell you, I don't wake up in the best state every day. So I'm not promoting you should get up and you're jumping up and down. If you're not doing that, you're doing something wrong with your life. In reality, what ends up happening is you will wake up in different states. Some days you will wake up excited. Some days you will wake up hopeful. Some days you will wake up stressed. Some days you will wake up anxious. Some days you will wake up in grief. Some days you will wake up disconnected. That you don't have control over. To some degree you do, but let's say you wake up in a state of despair or disconnection or hopelessness. What do you do with that? Do you have some kind of structure, for example, a morning routine to deal with that? Do you have breaks throughout the day that help you deal with that emotional energy? And so I want you to really tangibly look at your calendar and look at, how's my morning starting? Am I aware of my body? Am I aware of my emotions? Is my mind scattered or focused? What's happening with my physical energy? Did I get enough sleep? Did I get proper nutrition? Am I moving enough to have the energy? Or am I sitting and getting slumped? So for example, if you sit in one place for a while, let's say an hour, you'll start to notice your posture going down, and posture affects your physical energy. And so are you getting up enough? Are you moving enough? And that's a struggle, because there are times where I will, for example, I had a 2-hour session before this. I had to move, even if I had 5-6 minutes in there, I had to move, and then I had to close my eyes. It doesn't take that long to reset yourself, but you need to be able to do that. Now, I want you to also think about your spiritual energy. That's very important. And when I say spiritual energy in relation to your planning, and that's going to be different for different people. So spiritual for you might be God. Like, am I connected to my faith? Am I connected to what is my purpose in relation to my religion or faith, or when I'm looking at that? Not everybody will think like that. So for example, for some, their sense of their spiritual energy, their sense of purpose, their sense of meaning comes from their vision. Their sense of meaning comes from the kind of life they're creating, or the kind of business they have, or the kind of contributions that they're making. So are you grounded into that feeling of purpose? And the reason why that's important is a huge part of your energy comes from a sense of purpose. It actually doesn't come from, a lot of people think it comes from physical, mental, and emotional. I would say those are all secondary. Primary is a sense of purpose. If you can feel purposeful in your life, you can do a lot of things. And then taking care of your mental energy, physical energy, and emotional energy will help to the next level. You will notice people who might be completely out of shape, but they have such a powerful sense of purpose. They will do a lot of amazing things. And they could be overweight, they could not be sleeping, but they can sustain that for a long time because they have a very powerful sense of purpose. Now, I'm not promoting that. I'm not saying that you should be doing that. You should definitely be taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But what I've seen is incredibly amazing, because when you watch people who have a sense of purpose, they can override a lot of the challenges in their life. They can override that sleeplessness, they can override pain, they can override other challenges in their life, and they can get focused on what matters. If you want the most clearest example, like, think of people in military. When they get a clear sense of a mission or a purpose, they will go towards that no matter what the challenge is. Think of Marines. And I'm not saying you should be like that. I'm saying is that human beings have the capacity to do that. A lot of it is connected to purpose. If you haven't read this book, it's called Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. Definitely read that, because it talks about it from a different perspective. Dr. Viktor Frankl was in a Nazi concentration camp, and just his observations as a clinical psychologist, as a psychotherapist, and as a human being in that space gives you an understanding of, and one of the things that he talks about often in that is that he actually made an observation that the people who were physically strong, they actually got affected much worse versus the people who had a better mind, in a sense. So what did that mean? If they had a sense of purpose, if they had faith, or if they had connection with other members there, if they brought humor, joy, whatever they brought, they survived, and they sustained their survival much longer than people who look like they were physically strong, but they weren't able to sustain something like a concentration camp. What is that? Well, that's their sense of purpose. That's their sense of spiritual energy. And I want you to look at when you're looking at your calendar, how are you starting your day? And when you're doing your day-to-day stuff, when you're in your business, when you're in your work, when you're with your family, are you aware of that bigger theme in your life? Are you aware of your sense of purpose? Are you aware of that spiritual energy? Is it strong, or have you gotten pulled into reactionary stuff such as stress, anxiousness, overwhelm? I'm not saying those things shouldn't exist, You can work through them. But if you don't have that bigger theme around a sense of purpose and vision and that spiritual energy that you're grounded in, then it will become very hard to deal with the day-to-day challenges. And it will become very hard to keep yourself motivated. It will become very hard to keep yourself going. So are you designing your week based on those things? And so the day-to-day, for example, when you're starting your day, do you have practices that support you at the mental, at the physical, at the emotional, at a spiritual level? Not just the beginning of the day, but throughout the day. For example, do you have breaks set up? Do you have resets throughout the day? When you're going to see your family, do you have intentions around that? Or are you showing up in a reactionary mode based on whatever you were dealing with? When you're going into a meeting with a partner, are you just showing up with whatever scattered thinking and emotions that are there? When you're looking at the next day, do you have a sense of purpose and a mission around that? Or do you like, oh my God, another day I need to go through? These are things to think about as you're designing your day, because if you're just planning for block times and like time, that is not enough to create a productive week. Because often what's going to happen is that you're going to run into challenges. Often what's going to happen is that you're going to run into internal challenges, your own emotions, your own thoughts. Often what's going to happen will be difficulties in life, things you have no control over, such as economy, such as bigger themes, what's happening in the world that you will not have any control over. So how are you dealing with that? How are you staying focused? And a huge part of that will be your energy, how you're designing your week with your energy. So are you taking into account your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energy? And we will be doing a bigger session around this group coaching session on Thursday on energy, where we're going to actually get you to go through in each of these areas and see what's happening in your day-to-day life, week to week life.